it's Laura Eubanks of Design for Serenity with your succulent tip of the day and day 5 of our extreme backyard garden makeover. And my attention has been drawn over to this potted Satsuma mandarin for 2 reasons. I can't not address it for another second. One, the pot is tilted. It's crooked, which drives me crazy. I need to straighten it. And this, I'm just not feeling all this Aeonium kiwi in here. It's just a lot. So I am going to begin by just cutting pieces out of it. I can't get at the stems right now. They are in there so tight. So I'm just going to cut pieces. Remember, Aeonium kiwi is a different kind of Aeonium than some of its cousins, like Sunburst, in that it's very woody and tough. And this will work, or works for me here in San Diego as a cutting, literally year-round. Now that I've got a handhold here, it's a lot easier to reach in and get these things pulled out. I'll shake off as much soil as I can, but look at that. This could be replanted as a clump, but I think it just looks rangy and run-amucky, but that's up to you. You know, and these air roots are twofold. There are to, obviously hydrate the plant, but they also send them out for stability. As the stems start to get really heavy, these act as anchors or arms. It's really genius. Okay. Oh my gosh, that is a lot of kiwi. Yikes. This etiolation or elongating, remember that this bunch that I just pulled out was in the back in the shade. So Aeonium is not a plant, Aeonium kiwi anyway, is not a plant that's going to give you its best in the shade. What about, Hannah said something about the color?
It's green.
Yeah, and it's also green. It isn't pigmented because, again, no stress. It's been in the shade. See the piece that's been in the front in the sun? Shade, sun. So let that be a lesson to you. And if you live where it's really hot, partial shade, meaning morning sun, afternoon shade, would probably be ideal. All right, so I got that hot mess all pulled out, and I noticed that the rim of this pot is very filthy, which is also not cute. So I'm going to take this opportunity to clean the rim. This is just a rag with some soapy water on it. Oh my gosh, that's so much better. And while I'm in the neighborhood, I might as well just wipe down the whole pot, huh? And it'll look brand spanking new. You also will note that it's tilted, so I'm going to straighten it up and clean out behind it. There's a bunch of honeysuckle leaves all over the rocks. Honestly, this could take me a while, but right now I want to step back with you and take a look, and let's see what we think about this pot and how it looks after we cleaned out all the plants. Did I make a mistake or did I get it right? Because if I liked the plants, if I feel like, oh no, I made a mistake, I can put them back. But I don't know, guys. You know what I'm thinking? I am thinking what would look amazing would be first to level the pot, then to put some white creva in there. All of that green between the tree and the honeysuckle. Then I've got those 2 large agaves, which I'm going to have to figure out at some point. There's just a lot of weight. This Aloe Hercules that I plugged in there as a 1-gallon specimen is eating that part of the garden. So yeah, I think simplicity. I'm just going to do white, which will also pull the color of the blossoms. That citrus tree is also starting to come out and blossom. So let's see if Mary Poppins has any white creva in her bag. So it turns out that I used all of my white creva when we did the raised bed last week. So I did find some 3/8 inch desert gold, which is okay. It's not white, but it's close. And I think it's going to present a nice contrast against some of the other pebble colors that I have going over here, which, by the by, what you see on the ground, besides detritus, which I will be spending the rest of the day cleaning out. But this is a hodgepodge of different things. There's round rock, there's rough rock, there's red rock. I've just kind of spilled stuff down over the years as I've gone along, and that's okay with rock. You know, it'll evolve in your garden the same way as your plants will. But I really think that I like this pot clean, and I'm going to find a new home for all of those Aeonium kiwi and just keep this clean. It's so pretty. This is a side of the garden that you guys haven't really seen before. I haven't really done anything over here with you. So real quick, I have...
Can you turn your... Sorry, it's your love sign is...
Oh yeah, Hannah bought me this at a gardening event many, many years ago. It's the Chinese symbol for love. Oh my gosh, because in the house that we had when I first started gardening and I did my first formal garden, we affectionately called it the Love Garden. And that's what inspired Hannah to get me that cute sign. Oh my God, I totally forgot about that. Another reason to have special things in the garden. Okay, so over here we have Diamondia, which I've talked about a lot. This super, super tough ground cover that you can walk on, sit on, play ball on. It can get a little scrubby in the summer if it gets really, really hot, but it doesn't die. And in the winter and spring, it is spectacular. This Euphorbia millii that we discovered had thrown off a crest is just crowding this agave. So I will be digging this out. I'd like to find a really special place for this, or maybe even a special pot. This is the Aloe Hercules that went in as a 1-gallon can that is taking over the garden. And you've all asked me how these plants along the side of the waterfall are staying put, because this is just a vertical drop with a heavy, thick plastic pond liner. And I basically just, that's, you know, designing this area is where I came up with the phrase, if your succulent stands up, you've done your job, because there was no way to really stand them up. So I just crammed them in really tight. And what has happened is they have all developed very, very, very shallow root systems, and they are literally stuck like glue to that plastic. It is amazing. This shade of the Brugmansia or angel trumpet is just enough, because this is a very, very hot spot in my garden, but it's just enough to keep this little microclimate happy and thriving. And I've told you that we don't turn the fountain on when we shoot videos because it's noisy, but I thought this might be fun. It's so nice and warm and special out today to go ahead and turn it on for you so you can see it in action. That pump is an old well pump that a friend gave Greg years and years ago, a contractor friend, and that was Greg's idea to turn it into the focal piece for our pond and waterfall. So the water goes through that pump into a shallow pond, down the flagstones, and then into this deeper pond, which is actually only about a foot deep. I have pond grass and lilies that keep the algae at bay. And then as soon as I can, after quarantine, I'll go get some mosquito fish to keep the mosquitoes at bay. But I really can't emphasize enough how important it is for you to have a water feature of some kind in your garden. It's one of the elements that is necessary. So whether it's just a simple bird bath or a complicated setup like what I've got, or anything in between, get creative and figure out how you can get some water, preferably running, because you don't want to attract mosquitoes. But get a watermelon. Yeah, get a watermelon out in your garden. Get a water element out in your garden. I've been puttering a little more along the edge here. My stones were too close or too far apart, so I moved them closer together earlier this morning. You note that I still don't have any top dressing rock down here yet. You have to be disciplined. That's last. That would be like putting candles on the cake before you iced it. So you do your top dressing rock last, because what you're going to find is you step back and you look and you give yourself a minute that you're going to want to make tweaks and changes. So you don't want to undo what you've done. All right, well, I'm going to get back to spending the rest of the day cleaning detritus out from behind that orange tree pot. I hope you have plans that are just slightly more fun. This has been Laura Eubanks of Design for Serenity, reporting from my backyard with Extreme Backyard Gardening, Day 5, and your succulent tip of the day.